My name's Rachel, and I'm 37, living in the heart of Atlanta, Georgia, where the city hums with ambition and opportunity. I share a sleek, company-owned condo with my husband, Lucas, in a high-rise overlooking the skyline. We both work for Brooks Construction, a powerhouse founded by my father-in-law that pulls in billions a year, building everything from skyscrapers to sprawling suburbs across the South. I never imagined I'd be here, running boardrooms and crunching numbers for a construction empire, but life has a way of throwing curveballs. Growing up, I watched my single mom juggle two jobs, waitressing by day, cleaning offices by night, to keep us afloat in a cramped apartment in Macon. She taught me to be sharp, to make decisions fast, and to never back down from a challenge. That grit got me through college and into a banking job where I learned to navigate budgets and investments like a chess game. I loved the thrill of it, the way numbers told a story if you knew how to listen. But when I met Lucas, I thought my story might shift to something softer, maybe a quiet life as a homemaker, building a family. That dream faded fast. Lucas is the opposite of me in so many ways. He's got this gentle charm, the kind that makes people feel at ease, but there's a fragility to it. Raised in privilege, with a silver spoon and a trust fund, he never had to fight for anything. His father built Brooks Construction from a small outfit into a juggernaut, buying out competitors and earning respect for his tough, brilliant mind. Lucas was supposed to follow in his footsteps, groomed to take the helm, but he's never had the stomach for it. One evening, sprawled on our couch watching some mindless reality show, he admitted it himself. "I'm not cut out to be CEO, Rachel," he said, his voice soft, almost relieved. "I'd just be a figurehead. It's easier that way." I remember staring at him, my heart sinking, wondering how someone could be so content to drift through life. Me? I'm wired differently. Decisions come naturally. I weigh options, trust my gut, and move. My mom used to say I was born with a calculator in one hand and a plan in the other. When I married Lucas, I planned to leave my banking job and focus on us, maybe start a family. But my father-in-law had other ideas. Not long after our wedding, he called me into his office, a wood-paneled room filled with blueprints and awards. "Rachel," he said, his eyes sharp despite his age, "this company needs someone like you. You've got a head for numbers and a spine to match. Work with us." I hesitated, picturing the quiet life I'd imagined, but the challenge in his voice hooked me. I said yes, and that choice changed everything. At first, I was just another employee, learning the ropes of construction, timelines, contracts, labor costs. But my father-in-law saw something in me. A few months in, he started inviting me to board meetings, asking my take on deals or budgets. The board, a group of gray-haired men used to running the show, raised eyebrows at the founder's daughter-in-law sitting at the table. I could feel their skepticism, like I was some outsider crashing their club. But I didn't shrink. I'd spent years in banking, analyzing risks and spotting gaps others missed. So I spoke up, offering ideas on streamlining costs or negotiating better supplier deals. Slowly, their frowns turned to nods. They started seeking my input, even deferring to me on big calls. Lucas, though, was barely there. He was a board member by title, but he'd skip meetings claiming they were too technical or he had other stuff to do. The board didn't bat an eye. His dad's legacy gave him a free pass. One night, I came home from a marathon meeting, my head buzzing with strategies, and found Lucas sprawled on the couch, flipping through channels. "Why didn't you show up today?" I snapped, dropping my bag. "You're supposed to be part of this." He didn't even look up. "You've got it covered, Rachel. They listen to you, not me." His tone was casual, like it didn't matter. I stood there, frustration bubbling, wondering if he even cared about the company or us. That moment stuck with me. I started to see the cracks in our marriage, the way his indifference bled into everything. I threw myself into work, driven by the need to prove I belonged, not just as the founder's daughter-in-law, but as someone who could steer this ship. My father-in-law became my mentor, teaching me the ins and outs of the business, how to read a room, when to push, when to pull back. I loved it. The rush of making things happen, of seeing my ideas turn into real growth. But with every step I climbed, Lucas seemed to slip further away, and I couldn't shake the feeling that something was about to break. Work became my anchor, the one place where I felt in control. By the time my father-in-law retired, I was running point on major decisions at Brooks Construction. The board leaned on me, asking for my take on acquisitions, labor disputes, even marketing campaigns. I'd walk into those meetings with a stack of notes and a plan, my old banking instincts kicking in. Numbers don't lie, and I knew how to make them sing. Our sales climbed, profits grew, and I felt a fire in my chest, like I was finally doing what I was meant to. Growing up, I'd watched my mom scrape by, and now I was leading a company that employed thousands, people with families who counted on us. That responsibility drove me, kept me up at night sketching out ways to make the business stronger. Lucas, though, was a ghost. He'd show up at the office some mornings, all pressed shirts and easy smiles, but by lunch, he was gone. I'd find him at home, playing video games or napping, as if the company his dad built was just a hobby. I tried talking to him, hoping he'd step up, especially after his father stepped down. "Lucas, this is your legacy," I'd say, my voice sharp with frustration. "Don't you want to be part of it?" He'd shrug, that same maddening shrug, and mutter, "You're doing fine without me." It stung not just because he was opting out, but because it felt like he was opting out of us, too. Our conversations dwindled to small talk. Weather, groceries, nothing real. I'd lie awake at night, staring at the ceiling of our condo, wondering how we drifted so far apart. Then my stepsister, Camila, blew into our lives like a storm. Camila's 3 years older, all charisma and sharp edges. We grew up under the same roof after my mom married her stepdad, a gruff man who never stuck around long. Camila learned early to charm her way through life, always chasing something bigger. Fancy clothes, rich boyfriends, a life that screamed success. Her marriage to a hotshot lawyer ended in flames when she cheated, a scandal that had her ex storming into our parents' house, yelling about betrayal. I was swamped with work, so Lucas went to calm him down. He's good at that, diffusing tension with his quiet, steady vibe. Camila was all praise afterward, calling me to gush. "Your husband's amazing, Rachel." Handled that guy like it was nothing. I brushed it off, too buried in spreadsheets to think much of it, but Camila saw Lucas differently after that. To her, he wasn't just my laid-back husband. He was the heir to Brooks Construction, a golden ticket. She didn't know he was barely involved, that his executive title was a courtesy from his dad. Camila's always been drawn to wealth. Her ex's high salary wasn't enough to keep her loyal, but it was why she married him. Now, freshly divorced and drowning in alimony payments, she was on the hunt again. I didn't see it coming. I was too caught up in board meetings and growth projections to notice the way she started lingering around Lucas, laughing too loud at his jokes, texting him about catching up. One evening, I came home exhausted, my head spinning from a day of negotiating a new contract. Lucas was waiting in the living room, his usual easy grin gone. "Rachel, we need to talk," he said, his voice heavy. My stomach twisted. Lucas never sounded serious. I sat down, bracing myself. "Camila's pregnant," he said, looking at the floor. "It's mine. I want a divorce." The words hit like a punch, knocking the air out of me. Pregnant? Divorce? My mind reeled, trying to piece it together. Camila, my stepsister, who'd always chased what wasn't hers. Lucas, my husband, who'd barely cared enough to show up for work, let alone our marriage. I wanted to scream, to demand answers, but all I could manage was, "When's she coming to talk about this?" He mumbled something about her visiting on my next day off. I nodded, numb, already knowing I'd need to face this head-on, just like everything else. The days after Lucas's bombshell felt like wading through fog. I went through the motions at work, leading meetings, signing off on deals, but my mind kept replaying his words. Camila's pregnant. I want a divorce. It wasn't just the betrayal that stung. It was the absurdity of it. Camila, who'd always chased shiny things, had set her sights on Lucas, thinking he was some big-shot CEO. And Lucas, too spineless to say no, had let it happen. I felt like an idiot for not seeing it, For letting work blind me to the cracks in my life, I knew I had to protect my place at Brooks Construction. If I was divorcing Lucas, I'd be just another ex-daughter-in-law, and I couldn't risk losing the role I'd fought for. The next morning, I drove to my in-laws' sprawling estate outside Atlanta, my nerves jangling. My father-in-law was in his study, surrounded by old photos and construction plans. I told him everything: Lucas's affair, Camila's pregnancy, the divorce. My mother-in-law, hovering nearby, gasped, her eyes lighting up at the mention of a grandchild. But one sharp look from my father-in-law silenced her. He leaned back, his face unreadable, then smiled. "Rachel, you're the heart of this company," he said. "I don't care what Lucas does. You keep running things. I'll handle him." Relief washed over me, mixed with a pang of sadness. My father-in-law valued the business, his legacy, over his own son. But for me, it meant I could keep my purpose, my place. When my day off came, Camila showed up at our condo, all smug confidence, her designer bag swinging like a trophy. "Rachel," she said, her voice dripping with pity, "I'm so sorry you couldn't have kids. But don't worry, I'll make sure you get plenty of money to start over. Just leave this place." She gestured at the condo like she already owned it. Lucas sat there, silent, his face blank as ever. I wanted to laugh at the absurdity. Camila thought she was stealing some billionaire lifestyle, but she had no idea how little Lucas actually had. I kept my cool, channeling the same focus I used in boardrooms. "Divorce is fine," I said, my voice steady. "But we'll need lawyers to sort out alimony and property. And Camila, you really think Lucas is the prize you're after?" Her eyes narrowed, but she waved it off, all bravado. "I know it's real, Rachel. Lucas's got everything I need." I bit back a smirk. She thought he was the president, the heir, sitting on a fortune. She didn't know the condo was company property, or that Lucas's executive salary barely covered his coffee runs. I let her talk, her arrogance filling the room, while I mentally mapped out my next steps. This wasn't just about a broken marriage. It was about protecting what I'd built, and I wasn't letting either of them take it from me. The divorce negotiations were set for the next day, and I was ready. I'd hired a sharp lawyer, Mia, who'd handled high-stakes corporate cases and knew how to keep things fair but firm. We met in a sleek conference room at Brooks Construction, the Atlanta skyline glinting through the windows. Camila strutted in, acting like she'd already won, while Lucas slouched beside her, his usual indifferent mask in place. I sat across from them, Mia at my side, my heart pounding but my face calm. I'd spent years outsmarting competitors in boardrooms. I could handle this. Camila started strong, tossing her hair. "Rachel, name your price for alimony. I'll make sure you're taken care of." Her tone was patronizing, like she was doing me a favor. Mia raised an eyebrow, then slid a document across the table. "Since you're offering, we'll be claiming alimony from both Lucas and you, Camila," she said coolly. Camila's jaw dropped. "Me? I'm already paying my ex," she sputtered. I leaned back, watching her confidence crack. She hadn't expected this, hadn't thought through the mess she'd made. My mom's voice echoed in my head. People who chase shortcuts always trip. Camila was tripping hard. Then came the property division. Camila, still trying to regain her footing, declared, "This condo's Lucas's family's, right? It's not part of the split." Mia didn't miss a beat. "The condo and the land it's on belong to Brooks Construction. The company decides who stays." Lucas blinked, surprised. "Wait, I thought it was Dad's," he mumbled. Camila's face went pale. "So we can't live here?" she asked, her voice sharp. Mia's reply was crisp. "You can if the company allows it. But that's up to the acting CEO." She glanced at me, and I saw Camila's eyes widen as the truth hit her. "Hold on," Camila said, turning to Lucas. "You're not the CEO?" I stepped in, my voice calm but firm. "I'm the acting CEO, Camila. Lucas is an advisor, no executive power. My father-in-law made me president when he retired. The board trusts me to run things." Lucas looked away, embarrassed, while Camila's face twisted in disbelief. "You're joking," she snapped, glaring at Lucas. You let me think you were the boss." He shrugged, that same infuriating shrug, and I almost laughed. Camila had banked on Lucas being her ticket to wealth, but she'd misread the board entirely. Mia, still chuckling, asked me, "Can Lucas and Camila stay in the condo?" Before I could answer, Camila jumped in. "It's company property, so it's free for Lucas, right?" Mia shook her head, sliding over a rental agreement. "It's leased to employees at market rate. Here's the figure." The number was steep. Atlanta's luxury condo market doesn't come cheap. Lucas's eyes widened. "My salary can't cover that," he said, almost to himself. Camila looked like she'd been slapped. She'd walked in thinking she'd won a mansion. Now she was staring at rent she couldn't afford. I felt a strange mix of pity and triumph. Camila's whole plan, seducing Lucas, chasing his supposed fortune, had collapsed. Lucas, who'd never cared about money or responsibility, was just as lost. I'd spent years covering our expenses, pouring my salary into rent and bills while Lucas coasted. Now, with no savings to split, the divorce was clean but brutal. Camila's dreams of a lavish life were dust, and Lucas was left with nothing but his own indecision. I walked out of that room feeling lighter, ready to leave them both behind and focus on what mattered: my company, my team, my future. The fallout was almost poetic. Camila's lies unraveled faster than I expected. A few weeks after the negotiations, word got back to Lucas's family that her pregnancy claim was a sham. She'd spun the story to trap Lucas, banking on his family's wealth to bail her out of her own financial mess. My mother-in-law, who'd been so excited about a grandchild, was crushed. My father-in-law, who'd never trusted Camila, was livid. "She's no daughter-in-law of mine," he growled when I visited him for advice. The tension at their estate was palpable. Camila and Lucas, now living there, were at odds with everyone. My father-in-law barely spoke to her, and when Camila begged him to cover her alimony payments to her ex, he shut her down cold. "You're nothing to this family," he said, his voice like steel. She'd crossed a line, and there was no coming back. Camila couldn't handle it. One morning, she packed a bag and vanished, leaving Lucas to face his parents' disappointment alone. She'd come into this thinking she'd scored a rich husband and a cushy life, but all she got was debt and drama. Lucas, meanwhile, tried to crawl back to me. One evening, he showed up at my new apartment, a modest place I'd rented in Midtown Atlanta, all clean lines and quiet peace. "Rachel, maybe we could try again," he said, his eyes pleading. I laughed, not out of cruelty, but exhaustion. "Lucas, you made your choices," I told him. "You cheated with my stepsister. You checked out of our marriage long before that. I'm done." His dad had already cut him from the company, demoting him to a temp job pushing papers. The man who'd once been heir to Brooks Construction was now scraping by, and I felt nothing but relief to be free of him. I threw myself into my work, the one place where I felt whole. Running Brooks Construction wasn't just a job, it was my calling. Every decision, from approving new projects to ensuring our workers had stable jobs, felt like a promise kept to the people who depended on me. I thought about my mom, how she'd worked herself to the bone for me, and I channeled that into making the company better. Our profits climbed, new contracts rolled in, and the board started calling me the backbone of the business. My father-in-law became my rock, offering advice over coffee at his estate, his gruff wisdom grounding me. "You're doing what I always hoped Lucas would," he said once, his eyes soft with pride. That meant more to me than any title that I don't think about remarriage. The idea of letting someone else in after all that betrayal feels like too much. My heart's been through a meat grinder, and I'm not ready to hand it over again. Instead, I'm married to my work, to the thousands of employees whose families rely on Brooks Construction. Their trust keeps me going, pushes me to show up every day with a clear head and a steady hand. I've learned what I'm capable of, what it means to stand tall when the world tries to knock you down. Camila and Lucas? They're a distant memory, a lesson in trusting my gut and choosing my own path. To everyone who's followed this journey, thank you. You've walked with me through betrayal, heartbreak, and hard-won victories. If my story hit you, If it made you feel the sting of injustice or the rush of fighting back, hit that subscribe button and join me. Every project we build, every deal we close, tells a story of grit, heart, and starting over. Keep carving your own path, and I'll see you at the top.